It's Matty Fresh on the track up at State. And I'm bringing to you live my boys Alec and Nate. Tequila Ty, JNELLY and Zillin in the building. So kick it back, pour the drink. We chillin' because I'm boozing and betting and balling like I'm 2-6 in the blue kicks. Watch me move quick. Yeah, this the blueprint. So who's getting involved? Welcome into the show. This is Booze, Bets, and Ball, baby.
And welcome back to Booze, Bets, and Ball. We are previewing Penn State's game against Indiana this weekend. We do not have Nate. He's traveling the country again or some crap like that, like he likes to do. So
he actually has a legit job, unlike some of us.
Yeah, I guess that part too. Yeah, so I got Tyler right now, Justin, a little later, which technically means the next day, but that's whatever. Penn State looking to bounce back here after, I guess, blowing it is the best way to put it against Ohio State. I mean, we already got into that. You can check out that video if you want to hear more on that game. But now, it's time to bounce back. Ranked 15th in the first playoff poll. I think that's a fair ranking for all things considered. You lose, kind of in blowout fashion to the two teams you're supposed to lose to, and you beat everyone else. I guess that's fair. 15's fine. This game, a little interesting. Indiana, really bad defense, gives up like 31 points a game, which is, not good. I know they played Michigan already, but not a great number. And their top receiver, Cam Camper, that's a hell of a name. He's out for the year, I think now, so he won't be there. I'm going to be honest, I don't see a lot of trouble here. The problem is Penn State seems to play slow in Bloomington, and coming off of the Ohio State loss, which pretty much, ends the Big Ten title, ends the playoff hopes. That is always a little worrisome, but overall, I'm not overly concerned about this game.
Yeah, I mean, like you mentioned, going to Bloomington's always just one of those dead energy areas that it's just hard to get a team up for. I think this game being at 3:30 Eastern is going to help them a lot. I'm not sure if they're Central or Eastern or not, but if you had to play this game at 11 or noon, I think this is a dogfight till the very last minute. But I think them going and being able to play a little later in the day, get nice sleep, wake up, that'll definitely help them. But it's just going to be one of those dogfight games at the beginning that no one really wants to be there for.
Yeah, it seems outside of the COVID year when that game started at 3:30 or whenever it was, I feel like Penn State's always played at Indiana at noon, and it's been overcast, 45 degrees, ESPN2, Beth Mowins on the call. It's just been like the most boring thing possible. And, that might be part of the reason why Penn State just never seems to really blow. I mean, even, Saquon and McSorley had trouble there. I mean, McSorley had trouble there the two times he was there. The first game was a one-score game until they got the strip sack at the end of the game for a touchdown. And then in 2018, they needed, like a defensive stop at the end of the game to win that game. So McSorley struggled there. 2020, the whole Michael Penix, that stuff game was the only time Clifford's played there. He was pretty hit or miss that game. That game is such a blur, but if I remember correctly, he started off pretty slow and then got hot late, hit Dotson on the big touchdown to put them ahead or tie the game or whatever. And then I know he hit Washington in overtime, and that was all for nothing. So he's played okay there.
It was a typical Clifford game, some big time plays, but then some ugly turnovers.
Yeah, it was pretty average. It was pretty average, I guess, especially to put it. So we'll see. A lot of these guys haven't played there, like the running backs haven't played there. Parker Washington and Lambert Smith played there. That was their first career start, so they're used to it. So a lot of. I know they want to win that game. I know Clifford probably wants to win that game after what happened last time they were there. This is not the same Indiana team from that year. That team was actually kind of decent. This team just really no pulse on defense and in banged up offense that I think they were averaging 25 points a game before this. And I don't know, 25 points a game in college, it's not good, I'd say. Yeah. I think Penn State averages 33 and people are mad. So 25, not good. I see this being somewhere 17 to 21 point range.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of hit it. It's just One, Indiana's so rough and so boring that
It's bad.
they're a team that's like that. They struck gold in 2020. They shocked the world when they beat us, but it's the COVID year, and we can, as Penn State fans, we're going to use that as a huge excuse, which I think is kind of fair.
Yeah.
21, we don't really have an excuse though; it's just a meltdown. But it's just a whole different environment. It's playing in front of no fans. It's just that's 1 in a million that happens in that situation to a team that had all those aspirations that the 2020 Penn State team had. I'm not too overly concerned, but like we keep mentioning, it's just one of those games that you kind of expect the team to dog walk through the first couple possessions or first quarter and a half, something like that, where you're sitting there like, come on, guys, when's this going to start? And it's just constantly going like that.
Yeah, and the other thing is, and I feel like I'm going to say this the next 4 weeks because I think it's true for all 4 of Penn State's games. And even though, if there's Maryland fans that are watching this, you'll say, oh, we already have 6 wins. Well, I know this is your Super Bowl, but 3 out of the 4 teams Penn State has left are probably not making a bowl game. Like, this is their bowl game, I feel like, for a lot of them, because I think Indiana goes to Ohio State. So obviously, the home games can be more of the Super Bowl-like atmosphere. So they're going to get every trick in the book from these teams over the next 4 weeks, because for whether it be because they won't make a bowl game and this is their bowl game, or it's because, Maryland just has that weird obsession with Penn State. It's going to be where they're not going to play you straight up. You're going to have to be prepared for all the weird stuff, the flea flickers, the onside kicks, the going for it on every 4th down, that kind of stuff. I think that's stuff they need to be prepared for, because they should be, heavy favorites in all 4 of these games. And I feel like there's been times in the past where they haven't been prepared for the kind of trickery stuff they face. And it's kind of why they've lost a few games along the way that they shouldn't have.
Yeah, I mean, that certainly worries me as a fan. Just, this team's going to pull out everything they possibly could. And especially after a heartbreaking loss like we had last week, where I'm sure a lot of those players thought that we should have won that game. They're just going to come out, and if they hit a couple of those, we're in for a long afternoon, I think. So we're going to see really what type of leadership this team has, the coaching, and see how prepared they are to come out from the snap. And just see how they rally around each other. It's that point of the year where we're 6-2. We win these last 4, we're probably in an Orange Bowl. If we lose these last 4, everyone's going to be calling for Franklin's job. So it's time to see how these teams rally. I'm sure a lot of these players are pissed off last week about the Michigan game, about the last 2 years. So let's see if something finally flips for them and they switch it around and finish this year strong.
Yeah, you brought up what we're going to get into next, and something we obviously talked about before. We talked about it earlier this week. We talked about it after the Michigan game, but they could go 4-0 or they could go 0-4, and depending who you talk to in the fan base, there's people who want to just go for 10-2, have the best season possible, which I'm kind of on the fence with, because after the last 2 years, I do not want this year to go off the rails again. But then there's people who would say I would go 0-4 if Drew Aller got every snap. And I can't bring myself. I want Aller to be ready. Like I do. And, I pulled up stats that I found that, already Aller's already gotten more pass attempts his true freshman year than a lot of quarterbacks who started year 2 did. I mean, CJ Stroud got 0. Drake May at North Carolina got 10. Bryce Young got 22. Hendon Hooker got 0. There's a couple more I had down, but pretty much JJ McCarthy had 59. And these are all recent guys that are just in the league now. And Caleb Williams was the outlier because he started like 6 games. He had 211. But Aller at 31 is pretty much towards the upper echelon of that group already. And it's like, yeah, Aller should get more snaps, but I think to totally blow it up in the sake of giving him every snap maybe isn't the best way to go about this.
Yeah, it's such a weird thing to talk about, because on one point, like if we were talking about the NFL, there's no way in hell you're talking about blowing it up and just preparing for the future, because these guys are fighting for their jobs as players and the coaches. In college, it's really not the players. They're not going to get cut. They're not going to get that scholarship pull in. But the coaches still could get fired. And I think after the last 2 years, there's just a lot of built up anger and frustration with how this team has finished the year or started the year in 2020, and just having got to those expectations. And a lot of this fans this year thought we were going to go 8-4, 9-3 at best. We have a chance to go 10-2, finish strong, and go to a New Year's Six bowl. I agree with you. We need to get Alar as much possible reps in the games and do whatever he can. But there's no sense in blowing it up and going 8-4 now whenever we can go 10-2. Like, you got to reward these players for sticking around and fighting their ass off for the last couple of years and get to that big game, get to the national stage, make the New York Six, win that, and then you're 11-2 going into next year with a team that could possibly win the Big Ten. It's a weird thing you got to balance out as a coach.
Yeah, I think you should try to win as many games as possible every year and not just next year, because I feel like there's a lot of times around these parts where just like, okay, well, next year. And, I had those feelings in 2019 where, okay, next year we got them. And then, of course, COVID, everything went off the rails. But this year I just kind of want to, after the last years, I just want to worry about this year right now. And, like the numbers I brought up with those other guys, if Aller ends this year, which I think he will play in all 4 of the remaining games, because Penn State should have multiple touchdown leads in the fourth quarter of all these games. If we're talking straight up talent, what should happen will happen. They should be up at least 14 points in the fourth quarter of all these games. He should throw the ball then. I think, there's a chance he finishes this year with 7, counting the bowl game too, maybe, because maybe they just rotate him in, because, bowl games mean something, but not as much as they used to. He could finish this year with like 70 to 80 pass attempts, and that's more than, JJ McCarthy, Quinn Ewers, Stroud, Bryce Young, and Drake May got combined their true freshman year. So we cannot use that as an excuse if something happens in 2023. Oh, we gave Sean Clifford too many reps in meaningless games, because, kind of the recent history will show, well, that didn't matter for other guys who had success year too. So that's kind of where I'm at. Don't blame anything that happens in 2023 on them trying to win games this year.
I think this is really going to show what Franklin and Yursich is capable of how they're going to do this rotation. Because I think from everyone's point of view, he's going to play these next 4 games. Mm-hmm. He's already had his redshirt burn. There's no reason to not playing him, especially with, like you said, we should be favorites by a lot in all these games. We should take care of business. But I think it's going to be very interesting to see whether they want to do the Sean, you get 2 reps, Alar, you get 2 series, Alar, you get 2 series, and go like that. Yeah. I think that would do way more harm than good, because that's going to lead to a lot of miscommunication between the teams and penalties and just getting behind the chains, which is going to lead to a lot of close games. And then you're actually fighting games late in the game. So I think really what they just got to do is install it in these players' heads is, let's go out, let's kick their ass for a half, get up by big, and rotate as many guys in as possible. It'd be awesome to get Alar the first team as much as we could, but right now, you just got to worry about winning the game first and then getting experience, which should come in these next 4 games, based on the team we have and who we're playing.
Yeah, and people have said to me, because I'm like, we can start Allen, but maybe it doesn't go as well as you all think. And everyone's like, oh, well, Clifford's right there to put in then. I'm like, okay, you're causing a lot of problems for Aller then, because he's going to be looking over his shoulder the whole game, and he's going to think, I have to play perfect ball or I'm out of this game. And it's going to kill his confidence. And, maybe that won't be the case next year, because he'll know he's the man, but he might go into 2023 thinking, if I throw a pick early in this game, like maybe Perbula, or if they have a transfer they bring in, because I don't think Veyer is going to be here next year, but, he's going to be like, oh, well, they're going to come in the first time I have trouble, and that's just going to kill his confidence. So I'm not really on the train of starting him right now, just because they still want to win these games. And if he does struggle, they will go back to Clifford, I feel like. And I think that's just going to kill Aller's mental psyche a little bit, especially, as a quarterback. It's important to be strong in that area.
That's also just so tough on Clifford too, because that's throwing the whole weight of the world on him. And you already got half the fan base hating him. So if they were down 14 and we throw him in, and he can't bring us back, that's just going to bring more negative hate into a player that's dedicated his last 6 years here and put his heart and soul into this program. So I don't know. I think the smart way to do it is literally just play Clifford, play as hard as you can, as best you can, get up big, and then just rotate guys in. If you can get a large series in the first half with the first teamers, let's say we're up 2 touchdowns, then do it. But let's say there's kind of 2 scenarios I keep seeing in my head is, let's say the way they want to do it is Clifford gets the first 2 series, then Alar gets a series. Then we'll go back to Clifford for a couple, then Alar or something. So let's say Clifford goes out, scores touchdowns the first 2 drives, then Alar comes in and goes 3 and out. That doesn't just like hurt his ego. That also hurts the whole rhythm of the offense and the field that they were in at that point. And it's going to lead the offense to continue to stall out. And that's just going to lead to a negative game that's going to hurt the team more than anything. Or there's the other one that's, all right, Clifford goes out, throws a pick, or they have 2 3 and outs, and then Alar comes in and shines. If they go back to Clifford, then they're going to get screamed at by the fan base. Or they stick with Drew, and then it's just Clifford's completely gone. Like, it's just, I see it as a no-win situation. You got to play who you have as your first team. You know these guys better than anyone else. Go out and dominate these games and just get as many guys reps as possible.
Yeah, and lastly, before we move on here, but I think, like you said, that kind of sends a weird message to the whole team, and like especially like the veteran guys, like to Juice Scruggs, Brendan Strange, Joey Porter Jr., Nick Tarburn. It's like, if Aller's coming in every once in a while and it's a struggle, it's like, okay, are you here to win with me now? Or are you just looking at when I'm not here anymore? And should I even be caring about these games right now? Like, and I think that's where you lose a locker room quick in a situation like that. And I think, Franklin needs to be upfront with these guys about what they're doing. I think not just the quarterbacks and not just the offense. I think the entire team, the entire staff needs to be in on this decision and understand like the course of action they're taking.
I completely agree with that. You said it perfectly. They could lose the locker room so quick, and this team could literally go 6-6 then. So
yeah,
we're gonna see how Franklin's able to handle this. Him and Yursich. Weirdly enough, I have faith in them to do it the right thing and get this team ready to go 10-2 and finish out the year.
Yeah, I mean that's the plan. So we'll see. But it is our favorite time of the day.
It's our drink of the week.
Yeah.
It's better than a boring
Indiana. There we go. I got it.
This is a simple one, and you guys are gonna laugh, but we're playing Indiana at Indiana. There's nothing more boring than just drinking beer all day, which it's always good because you'll get the job done, and I think Penn State's gonna get the job done. But there's nothing too special about going to play there. It's just go out, drink some beers, shotgun, funnel, whatever you guys got to do, but get some alcohol on you and watch this game because it could be a potentially very boring one.
Yeah, I think that is what's going to happen here. Yeah, I'll be with beer. I think for this game, especially the Phillies will play either way on Saturday. So this will be running right into the beginning of that. So if I want to survive both, it's probably going to have to be beer. This watery stuff will probably keep me alive that long.
It's also like if you're in the upper Northeast, like a lot of us are, it's a beautiful weekend this weekend for early November. I mean, I'm in the DC area. It's supposed to get up to almost 80. I think Philly's around 70 something, 75 maybe. So it's just one of those days where you want to go outside, enjoy the weather, find an outdoor bar, watch the TV, watch the Penn State game, and then roll it into the Phillies World Series. But find ways to make it entertaining. Like I said, hit a shotgun, do a beer ball, whatever you got to do. Just make it interesting.
Yeah, no.
As a podcast, we're going to tweet out a video of all the shotgunning before the game on Saturday.
All right, we will get on that.
And then send back your shotguns, and if you do a good one, we'll feature you on the episode next week.
Yeah, if I find out how to save them and get them on here, sure.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. If we can do that, yeah, we will. But yeah, I don't know. Pretty meh beers here. I think I've not had natural ice. That's bad. Old Mill's bad. The beer distributor I used to work at, I mean, that stuff was like $15 for a 30-pack, and then it's not on there. What Lucky Strike? $11 for a 30-pack. I remember when you were like, if you're having people over, just buy that. And I remember the one time I bought like 3 30-packs of it. It was like $35 or something. That was funny.
The Lucky Strike.
So yeah, maybe not Lucky Strike.
Put it in the system and have a day.
Yeah, have a day. Get a bunch of these. Don't waste it all on a liquor drink or two. Just
save that for the night when we're celebrating a Penn State win, and if you're a Phillies fan.
I hope that'd be the best case scenario. So hopefully that happens. All right, so that's gonna do it for this part. I will be back with the great JNELLY in a little bit to get his bets of the week. A lot of good games this week too. Georgia, Tennessee, obviously at the top of the list. So we'll get his thoughts on that. So we'll see in a second. All right, and as promised, I am back with JNELLY to get his bets of the week. A lot of good games this week outside of Penn State, obviously. So we're gonna get right into it here. I'm gonna let him take over as we get these games up here.
So the lock of the week, I find this like really insane. Tennessee's getting plus 8.5 at Georgia, which is kind of crazy because they've had they beat Kentucky, Bama, and LSU so far at LSU, and of course Bama's just like one of the best teams always.
Right.
So I find that kind of insane. And Nolan Smith this week, Kirby Smart came out with he's out for the year. He's like the best. He's like the best linebacker in the nation, basically. And he tore his pec. So that's going to kill him. My key players for this game are Hendon Hooker and Stetson Bennett. Stetson Bennett hasn't been – I spelled his name wrong, but he hasn't been how he was last year. I mean,
I've noticed that, yeah.
Their offense hasn't been that great. He hasn't been that stellar either, and he's going to have to be against – because their defense, of course, is going to be good, but to stop this offense is almost impossible to stop them. It's like Ohio State. You got to slow them down.
Yeah.
You can't let them score touchdowns every drive. You got to hold them to field goals and stuff. So I'm saying Tennessee plus 8.5. I mean, I like them outright too, but I think the plus 8.5 is just a lock. I don't see them getting killed. So I'm just going to – I think that's the lock of the week for me.
All right. I agree with that. Yeah, I don't know. Georgia's weird because, like, they average 42 points a game, but it feels like they average, like, 25. It's just their offense is kind of weird. But, I mean, that defense – this is a great game because this is the nation's best defense against the nation's best offense.
Yeah.
So, I don't know how this game's going to go. Is it going to be played in the 40s or is it going to be played in the 20s? Like, that's the interesting part to me.
I mean, Georgia hasn't been tested. Like, I mean, yes, they played Oregon first week, but Oregon's a totally different team now. If they went back to Oregon, I don't think they beat them 49-3. I don't think Oregon's as what everybody says either.
Right.
Like, I don't think Bo Nix is anything special. I don't think their team's that great for the first year for what's his name? Dan something. I think their new head coach.
Oh yeah, Dan Lanning. Yeah.
Yeah, Dan Lanning. They're gonna be good. I just don't think if they played them again, I think they would probably lose by 20, not 40, whatever.
Right.
So, but I still think Tennessee comes out on top here.
All right. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people are picking them. This is the game of the year, really. I think. I don't know if there's any debate about that. 1 versus 3, both 8-0.
I guess Michigan, because whoever loses this game is gonna put Michigan into the top 4 probably. So Michigan, Ohio State's probably going to be right up there too, but Tennessee versus Georgia is going to be a lot more like electric game.
Yeah, no, this is I saw some of the tickets for this game are insane. Like the nosebleeds are like 1,600.
Yeah,
so yeah, we'll see. This can be a fun one. Unfortunately, that's on the same time as Penn State, so you have to be flipping back and forth a little bit. Yeah, so hopefully Penn State gets out to a nice lead. We don't have to worry about it too much.
Yeah.
All right, so next we got upset of the week.
Well, I guess it just deleted the U, but anyways, upset of the week. I got LSU over Alabama, plus 390 odds. I mean, I know it's Bama. LSU's been playing a lot better than they have. Like they started out. Jaden Davis has been playing very well than how he used to play, and I think like the keys to the game. It's a night game at Death Valley. Everybody says how good Death Valley is. I mean, of course they're second to us, like everybody is, but. I mean, the keys to the game, I think, LSU at night, you got to get the crowd into it fast. You got to get turnover. You got to cause something, score first drive, get the crowd into it, get them on your side. And Jaden Davis has to play lights out. He can't make stupid mistakes like he's done in the past. He's got the run because, I mean, he's going to run a lot. Will Anderson, I also have the O-line. O-line needs to stop, control the game, give Jaden Davis time, give them holes, the running back holes to make plays. And then if Bama wants to win, I think they have to get the crowd out of it fast. I mean, LSU's 15th. I don't even know if they're that great. But, I mean, 15th at home, they're going to have a packed stadium against Bama. I think they could come out on top there. I mean, I'll know I'm not like very certain about this bet, but I want new teams in the playoffs. Bama hasn't been the best this year. They're very vulnerable, and I think LSU's been playing pretty well. And if they got confidence at home, you never know.
Yeah, I mean, I think they definitely cover 13.5. This game is just always historically pretty close when both teams are at least capable. There's been years where one team is just bad and it's a bad game. But most of the time when both these teams are ranked inside the top 10 like they are this year, this game's close. I will say Alabama really struggled with the crowd in Knoxville against Tennessee. And like you said, I think it comes down to if the crowd's a factor again, Alabama's kind of struggled. So I do think that is a factor as well because they had a lot of penalties against Tennessee. And I could see that being the case again if the LSU crowd is into it.
Yeah.
All right. So we got one more here. All right. We got all the picks of the week.
Yeah.
Rank
All right,
games.
so there's just picks. So first pick, Texas at Kansas State. I like Kansas State, but for some reason, I want Texas to be back. Like, I want them to be better than what they've been. Like, they're getting all these recruits, and they still can't win. Like, I do not understand how they're – like, they lost to Oklahoma State. They lost to Oklahoma State, who's not – they're not bad.
Right.
But they're not great. Like, Texas should be winning these games, and they're just not. So I'm picking Texas. I think at Kansas State could be a key win for Steve Sarkisian, Quinn Ewers. They got to get something on track there. So I'm taking Texas money line there. And then second one where he talked about LSU outright. I mean, if you want to just play it safe, easy spread, 13.5. I wanted to say that, but like it's not really like an upset. Like 13.5 is a spread. Like I just wanted to pick a game that have like an actual upset there, and I think they have the best chance. And then Michigan versus Rutgers. It's at Rutgers at night. Not like that matters at all. Who's going to go to Rutgers? And Michigan steamrolled us, so I don't think Rutgers has a chance of stopping them at all.
Fair.
So I'm just going to go with Michigan minus 25.5. I mean, it's a hefty amount, but I still think they cover.
Mm-hmm.
And then Clemson versus Notre Dame. I've seen a lot of people want Notre Dame to win. But, I mean, with DJ, I want DJ to be good. I like Clemson. I think they have a great D-line, great defense. Their offense hasn't been good in recent years. It still isn't that great. But I think they go into Notre Dame, make a statement, and cover. And then Oklahoma State at Kansas. Kansas is one of my favorite teams. I love Kansas because they're just like everybody just not hates them. I mean, everybody roots for them, but they've always sucked at football. So I want them to be good. And they got a great shot here at home against Oklahoma State, make a statement again. I mean, they were 6-0, and then they barely lost. It was TCU, right? I think they barely lost to them when they
with the hurt quarterback, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, the backup came in and played lights out too. I mean, he made a few mistakes. Like he threw a pick, but like he came back after that pick, threw 3 touchdowns, kept him in the game. So I'm hoping Kansas wins there. And then my team that I'm riding with to make the playoffs, TCU. I don't like spreads in college football that much, as you can tell. I like most of these games I do money line unless like they're playing terrible teams, just because anything can happen. I mean, big noon going to TCU. I saw the prices for TCU. It's like $300 for this game. Like the atmosphere is going to be wild. TCU hasn't been good in a little bit. They're 7-0, or I think 7-0 or 8-0. I forget how many games we played. But either way, I think they're coming out on top here at home against Texas Tech. Texas Tech can put up points, though. TCU's been vulnerable to points. They were losing last week and scored 20 in a row to win. So they have been vulnerable, but I'm taking TCU money line. I don't like the spread just because they've shown they could lose close games like that. So
okay,
yeah,
I got you. Really quick on Michigan Rutgers. I didn't know this. These teams did not play each other before 2014. I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either. That's nice.
Rutgers won that game, which I somehow have blanked from my memory. The following year, Michigan won 49-16. The next year was when it was 78-0.
Yeah.
Then it was 35-14, 42-7, 52-0.
Yeah.
And then the last 2 years, when the game was in Rutgers, the score was 48-42, And then last year, for how good that Michigan team was, the score was 20-13.
Jeez.
So I don't, that 25.5, like on paper, it seems like it should be a no-brainer. Yeah. But the last couple of years, like Rutgers has kind of been, I guess like Penn State's equivalent of Indiana, I'd say. Yeah, that team that they just always kind of never put away, even though they should. Like the last couple of years, that's kind of been Rutgers to Michigan.
Yeah, I mean, other than like last year when we just like shut them out, but like we even played a great game. Like it was only 24-0. It's not like that's a crazy great game. Our defense just made plays. Our offense was terrible. But yeah, I mean, I didn't look at all the past games. I just kind of went off like this year. Like Michigan killed us. I mean, they still haven't played anybody that great other than us. Like Michigan State's not good. I think they're terrible with everything that's going on there. Mm-hmm. Not even into that, but I think, I mean, hopefully, I mean, screw Michigan. I'll be fine with Rutgers winning. I mean, I'm good with that. I'm fine with being wrong there, but
all right. That's just an interesting one to me that I haven't really realized that those games between those two teams have been that close over the last 2 years.
Yeah, and then I guess for our game, I guess I'll throw in a pick there. It's 16.5. That's a lot. I mean, I'm saying we're gonna win. It's like minus 600. I mean, if you want to throw that into a parlay just to make some odds better, sure. But I don't ever touch our spreads. Our offense isn't good enough to touch spreads that are over 14 points.
That's true.
And then like I don't even know who's like Olu might not play. I don't know if Landon's gonna play still. Lee still might not play. Like I don't know. Like Indiana's terrible though.
Mm-hmm.
So we should. I really hope we do. And then who even knows who starts at quarterback too?
Yeah, Tyler and I talked about that a lot. We'll see. But yeah, the offensive line thing is a problem because honestly, if they're missing 2 or 3 starting offensive linemen, I don't see a scenario where Aller actually plays meaningful snaps because they're not going to let him. And I know this sounds bad for Sean. Sean's been hit a billion times. He's gotten up every single time. If it's rough, I think I trust him to get through it. I don't want to do anything that totally kills Aller.
Yeah, I mean, no offense to Sean. Like, I've always been the biggest supporter of Sean.
Yeah.
But we're 6-2. It's over. He's done. His career is done. Like, we got to go 11-2. I don't want Drew to Drew, I think, will be great. He'll be good. Mm-hmm. But I don't think he's ready. And like what you were saying, put Sean and let him finish the season. I mean, he can take the hits. I don't even know if he cares if he gets it anymore. He's just like, I mean, like, this is all I got left here. Like, I barely go to, like, does he even have classes? Like, football is his life, basically. So, I mean, he's probably just going to, I say, Franklin won't sit him, I don't think. Nah. Unless he throws 2 picks, like, early or makes a terrible mistake. He's just going to be like, all right, you're done.
Yeah. So, all right, so we will see what happens, I guess, tomorrow now by the time this comes out. So, for Tyler earlier and Justin, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.